We live in a world where nature is all around us. Whatever action you take affects it. Some animals, such as eastern gray squirrels and rock pigeons, have adapted and are abundant. However, there are some species that struggle with living with humans. The World Wildlife Fund estimates that if there are 100 million species and the extinction rate is 0.01% per year, 10,000 species go extinct every year. There are many animals in America that are at risk. There are only 400 California condors. Their population diminished because of habitat loss, illegal hunting, and lead poisoning. There are only 100 Florida panthers left. Though they used to roam across the southeastern U.S., they only reside in the southernmost tip of Florida due to urbanization and car collisions. Red wolves used to roam the same areas until the 60s when predator control and deforestation got out of hand. Now there are only 45 to 60 wild individuals in a small northeastern section of North Carolina. Organizations such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Defenders of Wildlife, and World Wildlife Fund are made to help protect these animals. Why are they so important? These programs do things such as research on the animals, help set up wildlife refuges, and breed endangered animals in hopes of releasing a larger population. Earlier this year, a storm drowned the majority of Florida grasshopper sparrow nests, sending rescuers scrambling to gather 30 surviving eggs, which helps sustain the 100-bird population. Red wolves are only saved due to the rescue of the remaining 17. It is the same situation with California condors, where the remaining 9 were rescued and bred. The Wyoming toad, extinct in the wild, lives only in captivity in the Mortensen Lake Wildlife Refuge. Hawaiian crows, which went extinct in the wild due to invasive species, were bred by the San Diego Institute for Conservation Research, and more than 100 are planned to be released this year. These are only a few of many more endangered and extinct species. We need to protect these animals as they are part of the ecosystem. If one species dies, the others are affected, including us. As an example, bees pollinate and help keep 90% of plants around and thriving. In the U.S., more than $15 billion of crops are pollinated by bees, and $150 million of honey are made by bees. If bees went extinct, not only would we face an economical problem, but nearly all of our plants will be dead. In fact, on October 3, 2016, 7 different bee species were added to the U.S. Endangered Species List. The main funding for conservation is from the federal budget. Though millions of dollars are given to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they still need more. Funding frequently has to come from outside sources, not from the government.
Mr. Kiernan, after 2 straight years of budget reductions and more than 10 years of postponing maintenance and construction, your organization says that America's parks are starting to show signs of age and neglect. What kind of age and neglect are we talking about?
Well, unfortunately, significant age and neglect because of the lack of funding. Just to add to your point, over the last 10 years, the parks funding has dropped 15% in real terms. They no longer have $465 million of funding they had a while ago that they don't have now. In the last 2 years, they've been cut 6%. So NPCA over the last about 15 years has done a series of financial studies, and right now the number is between $500 and $600 million is the shortfall in our national parks. Congress needs, and the President needs to propose, Congress needs to provide about $500 to $600 million more for our national parks.
If conservation is so important, then why can't the government be able to fund it? People are against conservation as it requires protecting large amounts of area of land and sea. Therefore, farmers, cattle grazers, fishermen, and hunters have less opportunities and area to make their living. This also means that funding would have to be decreased from other things. Furthermore, it can take a long time for animal species to recover. Therefore, a lot of money and time is needed for conservation. All of these animals deserve a second chance at surviving. Our actions shouldn't be the reason they go extinct. All animals from a wolf to a toad are a key part to our environment. Please increase the funding for our conservation efforts. Please help support wildlife refuges, national parks, invasive species prevention, and conservation organizations to save our unique American wildlife.